What's going on, guys and girls? Josh Samuel here, and today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. I have a special guest on the phone, and we, chopped it up over email. I saw him on a video I did, and everything. And I don't want to be rude, so I'm going to let him introduce himself. So please introduce yourself and tell everybody where you're from.
Hey guys, my name is Fran. I'm from Spain, in Europe, and I like to talk about comic books and also DCU news related in my YouTube channel. So
Mhm.
yeah, I think we're gonna have a really interesting conversation about what we're gonna talk about.
Okay. So, friend, let me ask you. Did you see the movie Justice League?
Yeah. I I don't like recognizing it, but yeah, I did. I had to.
Okay, okay.
Did you see
Well,
it too?
yeah, I saw it on opening day due to my love for Man of Steel and Batman v Superman, as you most everybody that is subbed to my channel knows. Let me ask you, what did you think about Justice League overall as a movie?
Well, I had like really high expectations for it. Like I was really looking forward for this movie. And
Hmm.
at first, when I was going through the movie, I felt like something wasn't good. Like I knew that you all never like give up or led to the hype, but
Hmm.
I was going through the movie and I was thinking about, oh man, this is not what I want to see. And when I finished it, I had like mixed feelings. I was like trying to convince myself that it wasn't that bad, but when I
Hmm.
started analyzing what I just saw, I just started like getting really angry, really angry. I mean, first impressions were like it's entertainment, but this is not BVS. This is not Man of Steel. There's not deep meaning. There's no character development. It's just superheroes doing stupid things.
Exactly. Yeah.
What? What?
Say that one more time. Say that part, that last bit one more time about superheroes.
Oh yeah, just so like there was no deep full meaning. It was like superheroes doing stupid things.
Mm,
Some scenes copied from other movies. We'll get to that
mm.
later, but I mean, when you saw Batman v Superman, you saw like character development, you saw epicness, you saw a wonderful music. When you see this, you're like seeing a TV show that has superheroes in it. You're like watching The Flash, and even The Flash is better than this. What are what's your initial opinions on this?
Man, there's so much I want to say, but I don't want to take up too much time. I was when I first saw it, like you, I was really hyped because I'm like, this is the first time we've seen Justice League on the big screen.
Yeah.
I'm thinking in the back of my mind, okay, they didn't necessarily like Man of Steel, they didn't necessarily like Batman v Superman, but there's no way they're not gonna like Justice League. And like I predicted, some of the critics, because the movie was considerably lighter, a lot of critics were sucking it off and saying that it's a lot better in comparison. But me, I'm my own critic, and so when I watched the movie, I was like, okay, it's okay, but I don't think it's as good as Man of Steel or Batman v Superman. And me, I had this problem where, and that's why I haven't been going to the movies a lot lately. I'm trying to break away from this. I had this problem where I go to the movie and I'm so hyped about it that I won't recognize its flaws right away.
Yeah, that's my
And
problem
so
too.
yeah, so so when Justice League released on home media, and by then I had known about the whole behind the scenes stuff with Zack Snyder. Of course, we knew about the tragedy surrounding his daughter
Yeah.
committing suicide. May she rest in peace. And figured out everything that had went on behind the scenes, and I rewatched Justice League on digital. It just felt like somebody described it best as a corporate product, and also kind of like you hinted to, it's just like a basic superhero movie. It almost felt like a episode of Justice League as opposed to a movie,
Yeah.
and that I had a problem. That's what I had a problem with.
Yeah, it felt like a
But you were saying something. You were saying something else?
Yeah, I mean, what you just said about it being like a episode or something, I felt like it was like a standalone film that had nothing to do. There was like no continuation with BBS or anything that Zack Snyder created. Anything else like Diana saying, "You're gonna bring a monster just like Luthor did." That's the only
Mm-hmm.
reference to past events that could affect this story. This feels like what you just said. It felt like an standalone episode or a non DCU related movie, something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think for me, the thing that disappointed me is that we had seen trailers of what the movie should have been, and it's almost similar to Suicide Squad, but Justice League. It just feels a lot worse. And we're gonna talk about this later too. I feel like it's a combination of number one, we need to point the finger at WB and Kevin Shuhir, or however the fuck you say his name, for mandating that the movie be only 2 hours,
Yeah.
knowing full well that this is the Justice League coming together for the first time on the big screen, knowing full well that Batman v Superman was a lot longer and Man of Steel was long as well. And it just feels like they just I just consider it a complete disrespect to what Zack Snyder had intended and the hard work he put into establishing this universe.
That I mean, the 2 hour thing is like you saw that with BVS we had like 2.5 hours and people didn't really understand the movie and they gave us the ultimate edition of 3 hours and everyone loved the movie. Like people were apologizing to Zack Snyder on Twitter and things like that. And this guy comes back and he's like, "Oh, people need like 3 hours to really understand a really good movie. We're gonna cut it off to be 2 hours." It's like you
Exactly.
don't learn from your mistakes. Like it's in your nose and you're ignoring it because you only want money that you later didn't get. This is stupid.
Exactly. Exactly. Let me let's continue.
Yep.
And this question is one that I'm gonna probably end up running on, but I want to get somebody else's opinion. Who do you feel ultimately deserves the most blame for how Justice League ended up turning out?
Well, I think that the most to blame is Warner Brothers. I mean, they are the company who make the decisions. Like, you can blame Joss Whedon because he made some things into the movie that weren't really good for the movie, but you can't really blame him because he was contract. Like they gave him money, so he did what he thought what he had to do. But the responsibles of getting him hired was Warner Brothers, and I think that Warner Brothers saw what people thought about VVS, and they
Mm-hmm.
said, "Oh, we're gonna change the whole movie that is already done. We're gonna chop it off, like 50 minutes of it, and we're gonna add some comedy, like Avengers and MCU things that 7 years old laugh at, and grown-ups look up like, yeah, it's interesting, but there's no really depth meaning." The thing is that
Right.
the ones who blame is Warner Brothers. They did make the decision. They didn't let Zack Snyder finish his vision, and I understand people blaming Joss Whedon, and I really kind of blame him, but he is just a man who was ordered to do that. The higher decisions came from Warner Brothers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And man, see, this is something I go back and forth on. For me, I look at it as, well, there's so many conflicting reports about what really ended up happening. And a lot of news outlets were saying, well, they brought in Josh Whedon to quote unquote save Justice League. And then you hear, of course, going back to the tragedy with Zack losing his daughter, again, rest in peace.
Mm-hmm.
Some outlets were saying that Zack Snyder personally brought Josh Whedon in. And, either way it goes, I blame both WB, but I also put some blame on Josh Whedon, but not as much blame like you said. Not You really can't blame Josh Whedon, but at the same time, it feels like he just tore apart what Zack Snyder had, like I said, intended. And then you go back to him liking the tweet about Steppenwolf on Twitter right after the movie released, and we as DCU fans are gonna feel disrespected because obviously it's like he's shitting on the movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like you said, WB, it goes back to the whole thing with them mandating it be 2 hours. Like that's really just really stupid and doesn't make any sense for the first Justice League to be only 2 hours.
Yeah, I really think what you just said is really close to what I think, because I mean, you can't blame Joss Whedon for what he did, but because you can think about, oh wait, he got hired, he had a job and he did what he could do, but I think he saw the original material and he really didn't respect the original idea. Like, he was hired to do some changes but respecting a little bit about the general idea, but he as a professional should have like respected another man's work. Where I mean, Zack Snyder put a lot of effort in this movie, and he came like, well, I'm not gonna respect anything what you did, and I'm gonna put out some cranky jokes and stupid things, and everyone's gonna be happy. Like, yeah, you can blame it a little bit, but it's not his whole fault. The whole fault is from Warner Bros.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Well, Mr. Friend, let me ask you this, and this is where things start to get juicy. Do you believe a Snyder cut of Justice League exists?
Well, I'm gonna start really intense now, but it's not about believing, it's about facts. Like, right now, we're in the point we are, like, 1st of April. It's not about you believe it exists. The big answer, question, sorry, is if they're gonna, when and if they are gonna release it. Like, because Zack Snyder has teased us with a lot of deleted scenes. He posted pictures in Twitter, things like picture is locked, we only need to do like a little bit of color tweaking or something like that. There's pictures of Gal Gadot like re-recording lines of the movie, and this type of stuff you only do it when you finished the movie. And I've seen a lot of haters of Zack Snyder in Twitter saying things like, the first cut of Justice League was unwatchable, but then they say that the Zack Snyder cut doesn't exist. Like, if they saw the cut and they didn't like it, so they hired Joss Whedon, that means that there's a first cut because they saw it. It's like 2 + 2 is 4. I don't know. People say it doesn't exist, but the executive of Warner Bros. saw it, they didn't like it, and they hired Joss Whedon. But this cut doesn't exist, so they saw SpongeBob. I mean, are you kidding me? It's stupid.
Yeah, and going back to what you said about haters, like it's just really stupid. Like, they'll see the facts and the news reports that'll come out as the months progress, and they'll just make up these narratives, like you just said about Zack Snyder's cut being unwatchable. But none of us have seen the official Zack Snyder cut.
Yep.
So how could you even say that? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's like it's unwatchable, but there's no cut. But you just said that someone saw the cut and it was unwatchable. Yeah, but there's no cut, but it's unwatchable. It's like, are you kidding me? You're telling me that something doesn't exist, but someone who saw it didn't like it, so they had to see something. It's like nonsense. It's like hating because of hating, because they don't like Zack's work or something. I don't know what's wrong with them, but it's stupid what they say.
And that's another thing too. Most that have watched my videos know that I'm I guess you could say, an extreme supporter of Zack Snyder. And part of the reason of that is because I feel like him and his movies have been unfairly criticized, and they continue to get unfairly criticized. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
But that's a topic for another video.
Yeah.
But okay. I guess for me, like you pretty much touched on everything, and I guess this kind of leads into my next question, because this is something that I think a lot of people are speculating regarding a Zack Snyder cut. And that is, do you believe that a Zack Snyder cut of Justice League will release?
Well, I think so, and I think that the most positive fact for us, and like the biggest one and the one who has like more importance, is watching it like in a company way. Like
Mm-hmm.
if you had some product that it's supposedly finished at 90%, that only some little touches had to be done, no more shoots, no more music, like everything was almost done. I think that only a little bit of VFX was missing or something like that. But
Mm-hmm.
the company thing is like you have a almost finished product. You have 200,000 people sign a petition for you to release it. Everyone's keep even like how many months have passed since November? Like 6 7 months, and people still ask for it non-stop in every Twitter comment that has Justice League. So if they have like common sense, they will say, okay, we have this product, we're gonna let this director finish it, we're gonna call it like the ultimate director's cut of Justice League, and we're gonna sell it in a special edition or something like that, and finish it. And I mean, you have an almost released finished thing, sorry, and you're gonna keep it in a closet for what? You can make millions with that DVD. Like everyone's gonna
Exactly.
fucking buy it. It's like,
Yeah, and it's the same thing with not to cut you off, but it's the same thing with Batman v Superman, the theatrical cut, and Batman v Superman Ultimate Edition.
yeah, that's right. I mean, BBS is like top 50 Blu-ray sales of all time or something like that. It made like 150 millions on
Mm-hmm.
only in Blu-ray. It's like you have this finished product. If you release it, you're gonna get a lot of money. I mean, I understand that they're not gonna release it kind of soon, like next month, because the theatrical cut in Blu-ray just came out. But you give it like 2 3 months, and they say, "Oh, the ultimate director's cut of Justice League," and they get millions back. I think that's like the most important one. Like, if it's already finished, you only have to release
Mm-hmm.
it and get money. It's stupid to get it closed in a closet doing nothing when you can get millions with it.
Let me ask you this. This is a something that's still in relation to it. A lot of internet, quote unquote, supposed internet experts are saying things like, well, yeah, a Zack Snyder cut may be out there, but some of the scenes are unfinished. Now, let me ask you, do you think that even if that's true, do you think that WB would allow Zack to still come back and finish, just well, at least just make the cut all together? Do you think that they would allow that to happen?
Well, I think that if it's not already finished, if something needs to be tweaked and Zack is gonna work on it or he's working right now, I think that they're gonna let him, because in his next movies that he's already like signed up to do, like the Fountainhead or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
he's gonna do them produced by Warner Brothers. So that means that he's not gonna like go out to another production company. So he's gonna stay there. And I think that if you're gonna keep a director happy, you need to do what he wants to do. The other thing is like they got like new executives and a new director in the
Oh yeah.
DCU thing. So I think that having a fresh face and a fresh opinion in the theme. I mean, the guy who was before, I think that if he was the guy who changed Zack, I understand that he's not gonna let that cut be released. But this new guy, if he kind of appreciates what Zack did, I think that they're gonna release it. I think they're gonna release it,
Mm-hmm.
and Zack, I think that there's no question that if they let him, Zack is gonna finish working in the movie and release it.
Facts. And
Mm-hmm.
and 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 that goes back to again. It just keeps going back to Batman v Superman. This Batman v Superman should have told them that Zack should that Zack should have been allowed to make the movie as he intended. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But going to the next question. Oh, and this is a good one. What scene in Justice League do you feel need improving? with the Zack Snyder cut?
Wow. I think that, well, the beginning is scene with Superman. I think that that's not gonna be in the movie, but the most important one, I think, it's the final battle, because in the
Okay.
final battle we saw in some of behind the scenes footage that Superman was like there at the beginning. He didn't come like last second,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
they saw like this concept arts of Cyborg seeing Dark Side, and they like the whole Justice League watching through the boom tube and seeing Dark Side at the top of it. And
Hmm.
I don't know, I felt like the last battle was really fast, and Superman just gave two punches, and the battle finished. And I've seen
Right.
things like Cyborg was supposed to die, and then Bruce Wayne was gonna help him like recover, because he has like
Hmm.
half machine, so he can recover. And Superman was there from the beginning, and Wonder Woman was gonna kill Steppenwolf, like beheading him or something like that. I
Hmm.
think that's the scene that should be changed more, because it adds a lot of depth and epicness to the movie. So, what do you think it should be the most changed scene, Josh?
Whew. Oh,
Where to
uh,
start?
where to start? Steppenwolf obviously is a big one. Um, just all together, just Steppenwolf. I mean, I just feel like he lacked development, and he just was there, and then one minute he wasn't there, and then um, not just Steppenwolf. I feel like um going back to Cyborg, I feel like Cyborg was the best part of the movie. But even like seeing like yesterday, Zach and Cyborg's actor Ray Fisher posting a photo. You just know there were more scenes that should have been in the movie, like the one from the original trailer where he was like, "You should probably move."
Yep.
And yeah, that being one. And of course, with me, I'm a big fan of Henry Cavill's Superman. And so, of course, I was ready to see the scene where he tells Lois, "I'll take that as a yes." And of course, that was nowhere in the freaking movie.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's just a few things. Of course, having Flash fall directly on Diana's boobs, like, come on, man. That goes back to the Marvel stuff you were talking
Yep.
about. Not no to Marvel. I like Marvel, but come on.
Yeah, I think that that's what you just said. Like the seeing the trailer not being in the movie, that's what most angers me. Like when I saw the first trailer, the 25th, 25th of March, I was like really excited. But when I saw like the 4 minute long trailer of Comic Con, I was like hyped in the clouds. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
wow, this movie is gonna be amazing, man. This is gonna top BBS and that stuff. And then you go to the movie and you're like, oh, where's this? Where's this scene? Where's that? Where's this? Where's that? I mean, you get the trailer and you get the movie, and maybe half of the scenes in the trailer are missing. In every
Mm-hmm.
trailer, if you take and the other thing that really angers me is like the third trailer, when they first showed Superman, saying like that I take that as a yes.
Mm-hmm.
It angered me a lot because it was like 2 months away from release, and they already knew that that wasn't gonna be in the movie, but they kept it to drag you to the cinema theater and then go and say, "Oh, what's this?" I mean, it's like watching a totally different movie. Or saying
Exactly.
the thing with Batman saying "my turn," that is like really badass and really epic, and he says, "Oh, I didn't really bring a sword." It's like, you kidding me? In the trailers, Batman was like really, like he was more lighter, but he was a strong leader. He was serious, and in the movie, he was like a clown.
Reduced to
He was Iron Man. I mean, they made him the Iron Man of the DCU. That really angered me, because in the trailer we saw a lot of potential, and when you go to the movie, you're like, what the fuck is this shit?
exactly. Exactly. And I think for me, like I said, it was initially when I saw the movie, I was like, okay, it's not good, but I'm so caught up in the hype. I glance over his flaws.
Yeah.
And then once I finally sat down at home, I'm like, okay, I'm really upset about this. And that's why I made several videos, like that Justice League rant video. But again, that's another topic for a different day. And going back to what you said about Batman, I felt like he probably, if it wasn't Superman with the horrible Iron Man Mr. Freeze from Batman and Robin CGI, it was Batman, saying things like, I don't not like you. Like, what in the world? Why? You know what I'm saying?
He felt like a 15-year boy talking to a girl in the high school. Like, no, no. I mean, dude, like, you like women and he's your friend, and why are you acting like that? You are Batman. Like, you should be
Exactly.
picking up guys and fucking making them grab themselves, and you are like, oh, I don't like you. Come on, why are you 15? You're supposed to be 40 and really fucked up because you've been fighting crime for 20 years. And now he feels like, oh, yeah, something's definitely bleeding. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. When I watched the movie at home and I really took everything in, I'm like, what in the world did they do to this movie? That's the main thing. That was my first thought when the credits rolled. I was like, what in the world did they? And when I say they, I mean WB and Josh Whedon. What did they do to this man's movie? And this next question is a deep question, so I'm just gonna say it. Well, let me say, do you feel that Justice League should have been delayed so Zack could have had time to cope with his family?
Well, I have two answers for that. I have like personal answer, and I have like the facts answer.
Mm-hmm.
My personal answer is like, yes, of course, like he should have like some time to grieve his death child, because he's his child, and if you have a little bit of heart, you will let that man recover from that. That is really difficult to recover. And
Mm-hmm.
I would have loved to get it released in like a few months, but I mean, in personal way, I feel I mean, if you tell me that in November, I will have said no. I want to see it now, like right now. But if I knew
Right.
what everything, well, like the movie was gonna be, I would have said yeah. I want to wait to March or February or something like that to see it. But the other thing, like the facts thing, is like, to some last reports, like Zack was fired in March, 2 weeks before
Mm-hmm.
his daughter committed suicide. So I think that that will have happened. Like, if they also hired Josh Whedon in March or April or something like that to start the reshoots, I
Mm-hmm.
think that I agree with you that it should have been delayed, but it was not gonna be delayed because Zack was already out of the movie. So they were not gonna do it because he was not on the project. He just was in, and he did what he could in 3 months of preparation.
Mm-hmm. And I think, and this is a lot. What I'm gonna say is, you know, Zack, he whether some DC fans, whether some purist quote unquote comic fans like it or not, he was the reason. Zack Snyder is the reason the DCU even started.
Yeah.
He's the reason why we have Henry Cavill as Superman. He's the reason why we have Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. He's the reason why we have Ben Affleck and Ray Fisher. And having said that, I feel that pretty much everything that you touched on is facts. The thing that I'm conflicted on is the report of people that was reportedly fired, and they just used his daughter's death as a cover up for him, stepping down and bringing Josh Whedon in.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the thing. So, that was actually confirmed, or what? Is it still just like a report or a rumor, or?
Yeah, it was a rumor, but it came from a really important reporter from, I think it was like a really big entertainment how do you call it? Well,
News outlet.
yeah, yeah. I mean, like, it was like a paper, like it was like an entertainment paper. I don't know how to say it in English. It's
It's
like,
okay. Yeah, basically a entertainment media outlet or something.
yeah, something like that. Like a newspaper, but from movies and that stuff. And see,
Uh-huh.
he said in Twitter that he was gonna get fired. So
Hmm.
he said like fuck it, I'm gonna say it. And he said, I'm gonna get fired. So you know what? Zack Snyder got fired from Justice League way before the reshoot started, and like everyone was shocked. Like, what do you mean he was fired? Everyone thought that he stepped down because of the death of his daughter, and now
Right.
he got sacked. So like everyone was really surprised. But of course, you see all of this like 3 months after release, because if we all saw this 3 months before, no one could have gone to watch it. That's the thing.
Exactly. Exactly. And a lot of people are saying too, this is and the next two questions are gonna be pretty big, but touching back on Justice League as a whole, a lot of people are speculating that because of Justice League's reception, that it's gonna hurt Aquaman, Shazam, and Wonder Woman 2's box office potential. What do you think about that? And I
Well, I don't think it's gonna affect it because I mean, if you see Justice League, yeah, it did really poor in the box office. It got like 680 millions or something like that. But if you see BVS, supposedly BVS is worse because it had like a 2.7 or something like that in Rotten Tomatoes, and it got 900 million. And the logical thing to think is like, well, this is a bad movie. Suicide Squad got like 800 million, and it was supposed to be a bad movie. And then Wonder Woman came out, and it was a standalone movie. And the logical thing to think is like, oh, it's gonna be a bad movie. It's gonna do bad. But I think that the standalone movies in the DCU are the ones who are better because they let a little bit more the director to creativity. Like
mm,
Justice League did really poor in the box office, but Wonder Woman came out after two really bad critics, and it
hmm
really did like really good in critics, really good in money. So I think that Aquaman is not gonna be influenced by it because it's gonna come out like 1 year and 1 month later than Justice League.
hmm
So I think that the general public is gonna forget about Justice League and move on. We the fans not, because we're gonna go there like I hope they don't fuck up this this time, because they fuck up every time. But I don't
hmm
think it's gonna affect it because the general public is gonna forget about Justice League. I think that they have already forget it, but yeah, I don't think it's
yeah,
gonna affect.
yeah, and I think well, for one thing, I think a lot of angry I'm gonna just say this briefly. WB needs to either announce the Zack Snyder cut and bring like a slate with release dates to Comic-Con, or do at least do both or something, because there's gonna be, regardless of what they do, if they're at Comic-Con, there's gonna be a lot of angry fans there. I can almost guarantee it.
Yeah.
And in terms of Aquaman, Shazam, and Wonder Woman 2, the thing is, number one, they all have different directors. James Wan with Aquaman, he's done The Conjuring, he's done Saw. He even has a $1 billion movie on his resume with Furious 7. And obviously we had Wonder Woman 2 coming out next year, and then we have Shazam coming out earlier in the year. They're all directed by three different people, and ultimately, like you said, I think Justice League, regardless of, we're obviously hoping that a Zack Snyder cut is released, but even if it's not released by that time, at the end of the day, we all just want a good movie,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, I think so because I mean, hardcore fans are gonna watch everything that Warner Bros. Gives us. Like it doesn't matter
Yeah.
how bad it is, we're gonna go and see it because we like superheroes. But I think that the general public are gonna. I mean, Wonder Woman 2 is gonna be a success because everyone knows about Wonder Woman now that the first one was really good. So I think that movie is not gonna have any type of problem. But the other two is like having a normal action movie or superhero movie. Aquaman can have a little bit of more depth, but
Mm-hmm.
but I think that the general public are gonna go and see it because they have already forgotten about Justice League, and they're not gonna go there and see, let's say like, oh, this guy appeared in Justice League, this movie's gonna be bad. I think that they're not even gonna remember who this guy is, because he appeared so briefly in Justice League that I don't even know.
Let me ask you this, brother Fran. Can we agree or disagree that Josh Whedon was not the right person to come in and rewrite and co-direct the movie?
Yeah, I think that he was not the right person, but I think in a company kind of decision way, I understand Warner Brothers hiring him, because they're like, oh, we want like some kind of MCU movie, so who's better to get than the fucking Avengers director? So we get this director, we make it a little bit more funnier and lighter, and we get a funnier movie and more entertainment or something like that. And I understand that kind of view, but personally I don't I agree that he should have been got in. I mean, we could have got someone like Patty Jenkins, for example. Like she worked a little bit with Zack in the script of Wonder Woman. So I think that someone who has worked with Zack that also has a different view of superheroes, but that is like a little bit influenced by Zack's vision. I think that she would have been the perfect woman to get in, because she did really well with Wonder Woman, and she knew what Zack had in mind, and she would have respected the original material that Zack gave to Warner Brothers. So I think that just coming in, I just understand it in a company decision, but personally I don't think, if you have a little bit of head and you think about the movie a little bit, I don't think that he's the right guy.
Right. And I'm gonna try my best not to rant, but
you're gonna have to respect like the G2 family friendly kind of stuff. You can't share.
But and again, it goes back to pretty much everything you just said. And I think for me, I just feel like I said earlier, I just feel like he probably saw what I'm saying it wrong. He saw what Zack had did, and I feel like I'm of two minds about it, because like you also touched on earlier, he also didn't have a whole lot of time given all that was happening. And so I think with that, he was just, and even watching the movie, this goes into the movie itself also felt a little bit rushed and looked a little bit rushed. And but at the same time, I'm like, well, there's got to be some kind, I don't know if I'm being unfair or not, but there's got to be some kind of way he could have stayed in line with what Zack had intended. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
but
I understand that, but I think that maybe I don't know just Whedon, so I don't know what he thinks. But maybe if he could have wanted to say, oh well, I want to respect most of the source material, I think that they wouldn't have let him do that, because they hired him for one thing, that was change the fucking movie to make it for 13 years old boys. And even if Josh had like the idea of, oh look, I'm gonna change this and this, but I'm gonna respect the source material, I think that Warner Brothers wouldn't have let him do that, because they wanted change, and they said, just come here and change this movie. So yeah, I mean, and that mixed with the thing that he had like 4 months to reshoot half the movie and make the VFX that turned out to be like PlayStation 2 graphics. Jesus Christ.
and I feel like WB was, and it's almost like I hate to bring up this comparison, but it's almost like the Amazing Spider, what happened with the Amazing Spider-Man series. Even it's like WB, it almost seemed like WB was primarily the company itself was in a rush to make the movie to get more money, And as much as I hate to agree with the internet trolls and internet thugs of the internet, you know, they say things like DC was in a rush to catch up with Marvel. And, you know, when you look at all that has happened, not just with Justice League, but with the universe as a whole, would you agree with that statement that DC is in a rush to catch up with Marvel? Well, they were.
Well, I think that the executives of Warner Brothers were, but Zack Snyder was taking his time. Like, he was not like, well, we're gonna have a movie every 3 months and we're gonna get it all connected. And Zack was doing like masterpieces every 2 years, and that's what I want to see in a movie. I don't want to see a standard superhero movie that says, oh, look, Thor's in it, it's connected to the other movies, and you're like, oh, cool. No, I want to see a fucking masterpiece movie like VVRC.
Right.
I don't want to catch up. I mean, I prefer DC over Marvel, but I also like Marvel. But as a DCU fanboy, I think like we don't have to catch up with no one. Like, they are competition for the executives, not with us. Well, what I'm trying to say, I'm getting a little bit mixed. What I'm trying to say is like, there's no need to be in a hurry. If you make good material, if you make good movies, and once a year, people are gonna love it, and people are gonna go and watch it 5 times, and they're gonna buy the Blu-ray. But if you make movies every 3 months,
say that last part one more time. Say that last part one more time about if they make good movies. Say that whole line one more time.
Well, what I was saying is, people like good movies. They don't like to see one movie every 3 months. And what you need to do is not catch up with making shitty movies every 3 months. You need to make a really good movie in 1 year or 2 years, because that's gonna make people go see it 5 times, make it billions of dollars, and go and buy the fucking different types of Blu-rays with the metallic thing and this type of thing and this collection and that stuff. That's the thing, that they shouldn't be in a rush, because if you make good movies once every 2 years, people are gonna love it. I mean, we have the example of The Dark Knight. We had Batman Begins in 2006, and we had Dark Knight 2008. 2 years difference, and people didn't forget about the movie because Dark Knight make $1 billion, and 4 years later, we had The Dark Knight Rises that make 1.3 billion, something like that. The thing is, like, people are not stupid, and if you try to make people stupid, I mean, people are not stupid in the way of, if you give people shitty material, they're gonna like, oh yeah, cool movie, see it once, not gonna buy the DVD. Let's see if I can pick it up somewhere in the internet or in the TV. But if you can give them a masterpiece, even if it's every 3 fucking years, people are gonna love it. Like, The Dark Knight is now a cult. Like, it's been like 10 years and people are still watching it, and people are still buying it because it's a really good movie and there's no studio interference. And one little thing, and you can start talking again. What you said about the rush of releasing Justice League, I have some fire news that the guy who was before the executive director or something like that, that was before the guy who is now, they found out why he didn't want to release it after, because he had like a, I don't know the word in English, it's like a commission, or like, he was gonna get
he wanted to meet his apparently he was gonna get paid a substantial amount or something. So Justice League, basically the movie had to come out for him to get paid. I get what you did.
It had to come out like before 2018. So he was like, look, even if they fire me, I'm gonna get like 10 million or something like that. So he was like, I don't care about the movie, I don't care about the fans, I just want to get this thing done, get my millions, and go home to have parties or whatever he wants to do. But he in the way he fucked up a movie and some fan base.
Yeah, and thank God his ass is fired. But yeah, going back to what you said about the Dark Knight being talked about years later, and it's, even though people tend to argue about it, it's the same thing with Batman v Superman and Man of Steel. people are still and are gonna still be talking about it. You know what I'm saying? Regardless of how they feel about it, people are still talking about it.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
go ahead.
No, sorry, I interrupted.
No, you're fine. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. That, I mean, that's true what you're saying, because that's the core of movies. The core of movies is doing a really good movie. And if you make a really good movie like BVS, Dark Knight, or Man of Steel, people are gonna keep talking about it. Even if it's controversial, it means that it moves some feelings. And if it moves some feelings, it means like it's a really good movie, who makes you view things in a different way. But if you make a generic kind of like Ant-Man, are you kidding me? Who talks about Ant-Man? Who talks about Thor? No one talks about Thor. And everyone, even Marvel-related guys, are talking about. People who love Marvel are talking about VVS, because it's a good movie. It's a movie that makes you consider things, moral things, human things. It's in the core of it, it's a good movie. But if you give people a shitty movie with shitty CGI, shitty dialogue, no, I don't like you. Like, do you think people are stupid? I mean, 8 years old are gonna love this movie, but people who buy for the Blu-rays and people who go 5 times to see this movie are not gonna like it. It's stupid. I mean, it's about giving creativity to a director who has made so much masterpieces. And no, we're gonna make a shitty ass movie and make it like MCU related to 5 years old. So 5 years old are gonna come out like, yeah, I like Superman. And 20 years old as me and you are gonna come out saying, I'm not gonna buy the Blu-ray, I'm not gonna come back to see this fucking movie. This is
exactly. You're preaching facts, man. All right, I promise you this is the last question. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to leave a link to Brother Fran's channel in the description of the video. Yes. You all please go subscribe to his channel. He was so gracious in asking me to collab, and you know, it's something I've been wanting to do, and I'm just fortunate that he was one person that was willing to do it. And this is one last question that I want to ask you, and you know, I'll let you elaborate.
Yep.
How long do you think it would take for a Zack Snyder cut to be made and released?
Well, I think that it's already been made, so I think it's waiting to be released in a closet in Warner Bros. Studios. Like, it's gonna come out. Like, I think that's clear, because if it wasn't gonna come out, Zack Snyder wouldn't be like giving these clues and these comments on people's posts and things. I think that it's a fact that it's gonna come out. Now the release date, I think it's gonna be even before Comic-Con. I mean, if you give it, the Blu-ray has just come out. I mean, if you give it like a month or two, I think it's gonna be. I mean, maybe it's. I mean, you're not gonna have the Blu-ray in your stores, but you're gonna get the official announcement, like Director's Cut is coming or something like that, like an official hint. Because what we just have is Zack Snyder posts. We don't have anything, like nothing from Warner Brothers, even saying yes or even saying no. So I think it's gonna come out early, because you know, a lot of people has united, and it's an everyday fight asking for it. And I think that if Warner Brothers have a little bit of head, they're gonna release it, because they are. If they don't, they are wasting money. They've spent it like 150 million in a movie, and you're gonna keep it in your studio, like getting shit on and papers on it. It's stupid. And I think that because of the pressure we as fans are doing, it's gonna get released even before Comic-Con. Because I mean, imagine this scenery, like people in Comic-Con. I know that some comic and DC fans are like tired of hearing about the Snyder Cut and that stuff, but can you imagine like half of the crowd in the Comic-Con in San Diego asking for a Snyder Cut?
That will... I'm thinking that's gonna happen. Is what's gonna happen if they don't announce something soon. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
I don't think that they, as a company, wanna get their image get shit on by people asking for something that is fair to be released and something that we already know what they did, and it was really wrong what they did, and I don't think they want people shouting that, because that's gonna get even in national news. I mean, something like that, because people misunderstand the power of comics and that stuff, but something like that, I think it should go into the TVs. Twitter will explode with it. Like, I don't. If they are intelligent, they're gonna announce it before Comic-Con, because if not, they're gonna see a really bad scenario for them.
Yeah. And now, as much as I'd hate for that to happen, it ultimately, you know, this goes back to a few months back. I was arguing with a Twitter thug talking about you know, there was already people protesting for the Zack Snyder cut, and you know, I'll see this Twitter user, and she was talking about basically mocking me for saying that what's wrong with people standing up for what they believe in. And that's the thing a lot of people don't seem to understand, is people believe in what Zack Snyder has established, and people want it, like you just said, people want to see his cut of Justice League.
Like, that's the thing. I can understand people saying like, well, I'm tired of people asking for it. It's like, okay, I mean, I don't fucking hate you. If you like the theatrical cut, good for you. But
Exactly.
I'm fighting for something that I believe in. And I want that,
Exactly.
thing that I believe in, because it's really important for me and for some other millions of people to be released. Like, what's wrong with it? I'm fighting for what I believe. I'm not like getting things on fire in the street. I'm just tweeting out, release the Snyder Cut. Like,
Yeah.
are you really that unhappy in your life that you're gonna have to go to Twitter and mock up on some people who just want to see a fucking movie? Like, what's wrong with you?
Man, you'd be surprised. I think what will be great for me, and this is something I pictured being great for everybody, is if like they did announce it and they announced it released on the same day that Batman v Superman the Ultimate Edition released on home. That to me would be pretty fucking great if they were to do that. I don't know if they will, obviously, but I think that would be
I'm sorry. Yeah, what would you saying? My father just came on my bedroom.
But yeah, I was saying like I think it would be great if like if they did announce that it was going to be released. I think it would be dope if they released it on the same day that Batman v Superman Ultimate Edition released on home media, you know, so many years ago. If they released it on the same day.
Yeah. A lot of people was hoping that it was gonna get announced the 25th of March, because it was like when VBS came out and the first trailer of Justice League came out. But that was like, I thought that was really early, because if you are selling the Blu-ray on the 24th and you're gonna announce a special kind of movie with more than an hour of new features and scenes, no one's gonna buy your last Blu-ray. So I don't think that we should be like unhopeful and hopeful. We should be like patience, because these things take time, and I think they're gonna release it and it's gonna be announced in the next few months. I mean, it's gonna be, of course, it's gonna be before Aquaman, because if not, people are gonna say, well, fuck it, it's lost. But I also think that it's gonna be announced before Comic-Con. The other thing is when it's gonna come out, like a physical DVD that you can buy. Well, because one thing is that they announce it, and the other thing is printing all those CDs and all that stuff. But yeah, I think it's gonna come out soon.
Yeah, I sincerely hope so. I sincerely hope so. Like I said, there's like we both agreed on. There's gonna be a lot of angry DCU fans at Comic-Con, so they either better announce the Zack Snyder cut and the updated slate, or if they're not gonna announce the Zack Snyder cut, they better have updated slate for every DCU movie they're gonna release, and every person they're gonna have starring in the movie, because it's not good, I think. And yeah, man, that's all I have for this video today. Fran, I really appreciate you collaborating with me on this hangout. We're gonna definitely have to do